Thank you for tuning in to another episode of WGC Fits. Today we are going to have the first part of a three-part little series where we're going to talk a little bit about the current state, let's say, of golf clubs.
Love it.
Sound good?
Yes.
All right.
What's the first part?
The first part is price. Are golf clubs too expensive?
Without doing research, I think so.
Okay. Why do you think so?
I remember when Scotty Cameron putters were $300.
Okay.
What are they now?
$350 to $450, depending on.
I thought they were like $4.
It would depend on the model.
And then you get the boutique putters like Bettinardi's like a $430, and then these lab things are like $5 to.
They're like $570.
They're a lot.
Up.
Yeah.
So
from when it comes to putters, sure, maybe the price has gone up, but
how about
also
everything? Irons, drivers.
drivers getting up there. Like it's $650 now for a driver.
Well, at the top end.
Yeah.
Retail, we're $500 to $630 technically.
Yes.
Okay.
But any type of upcharge you want, you're looking at $1,000 real quick.
That's very correct.
Yeah.
How about irons?
Irons, I think, are more reasonable.
Okay. Here's where it's interesting in my book. I do think that golf is expensive.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, right now you got golf clubs, you got to pay a greens fee, and then you got to play with golf balls, probably
Correct.
average 3 around for people.
What is golf for most people?
Stress reliever.
It's a hobby,
It's a hobby too.
right? And what are golf clubs in that aspect then?
Tools
Toys,
or K toys.
right?
They're tools for me.
Okay, you're not getting paid to play golf yet.
That is correct.
So they're technically not tools yet,
Yes, they are toys.
right? We play golf. Before I was working in golf and before it was my job, right? This was a hobby, right? It's just one of those things where golf is something that we do for fun.
Yeah,
These are our adult toys,
very much so.
right?
I'll agree with that.
Now, toys aren't cheap,
No.
right? What other hobbies are out there that, let's say, have quite expensive toys?
PC gaming.
Well, there's that, there's car guys, there's tons of stuff, right? I mean, like toys are not cheap these days, right? I mean, the other day I was out getting something for my nephew and I think it was a video game and it was like $65 or something like that.
I know.
I remember when video games were $20.
I don't.
Shut up.
I remember they were 60 the whole time. But anyway.
No, I remember literally going to Walmart, Nintendo 64. I think it was like
those were
$24.99 for a 64 cartridge
Yeah.
with my brother. We used to ride our bike there, right? And we would save up all summer for like something, right? So like stuff has gone up in price, right? What's interesting is when you look at golf equipment in general, right? Inflation has affected everything,
Yeah.
right? Believe it or not,
Yeah, golf's a little less.
golf clubs haven't been hit by inflation as much as almost everything else.
I'd say below the average.
I would say well below, right? So I didn't know this prior to, right? I've been working in golf for a long time now, right? Before my time in golf, well before, right? Going back 2018 to like 24 years ago, right? Believe it or not, there was $500 drivers.
Yeah.
There were iron sets, right? That were not limited edition crazy iron sets. Normal iron sets, game improvement for like most people, right? They were $1,800.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. That's a lot by today's standards,
Very.
right?
I remember Titleist did those concept things too. Those were a lot.
Those were crazy expensive, but
And then
that
Cali
was
did
not
the
a
Big
generally
Bertha one.
released, kind of club,
Yeah.
right? The clubs specifically, and I had to take notes on them because I never thought about this, right? Some of the first titanium drivers out there were $450, $550 back in 1990
80.
whatever,
Oh.
2001, right?
Okay.
Like the Bubble TI, that wasn't a very expensive driver when it came out, but that would have been comparable to today's market, right?
That makes sense.
The Callaway Big Bertha tungsten titanium.
Yeah, that
irons.
was a big one.
I had to look this up with Trent. That was an $1,800 set,
Oh my God.
and that was not a pro only kind of thing.
Yeah.
That was their game improvement iron.
Oh my goodness.
Right? That was everybody's golf club, right? So I guess not to say that golf clubs are not expensive. They are expensive, but golf is a hobby. Hobbies are in general, I would argue, expensive. And, I would honestly say it probably is relatively expensive to get into, right? But I actually don't think it's very expensive to maintain once you're in there. I think that's probably how I would describe this now.
And with
right?
what Cobra and some other companies are doing, it's honestly like $500 a set now just to begin.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I
mean,
remember
there's that one that sells like a 975 iron and a few woods and a putter for like $500.
Well, I remember
just to get you started.
When I first started, I learned how to play on Mizuno MP14s, and
Dang.
I got a set. There was 3 to pitch. I had I think they were TVD Titleist wedges, and then I had a Scotty Cameron blade from like the 90s.
That's awesome.
My buddy who was kind of helping me out, like he was, giving me some stuff and everything like that. But I remember I went into a Play It Again Sports, traded some boxing equipment for a set of irons, and that was all I could get because they gave you like $100 credit. So I got a set of clubs from 1999, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't great, but that was all I had for like 3-4 years. They were plus a half an inch. They were like 2.5 degrees upright or something like that, and they had this jumbo tour wrap. It was horrible.
The sticky grip?
Yeah, it was so bad. But that's what I learned how to play on, right? And then eventually I went out and I got myself a Mizuno 2 iron. It wasn't an MP14. It had like a slight cavity back on there, but I think I paid like $25 for that, right?
Yeah.
So we all started off with stuff like that. But like I remember the first big clubs when I was selling stuff, right? I remember when I came into, we were actually from an inflation kind of state. We were actually in a little bit of a deflation window in terms of the economy, right?
Yeah.
New drivers were coming out at $350.
I
right?
remember that.
I think
like the IQs and the Sumos.
Well, there was those, but then even a little bit later, there was and I don't remember which one. There was a Callaway driver that came out, and I want to say there was 2 of them. One was $350, one was $450.
Yeah.
There was a Ping driver that came out, and it was $400. But even when that was, I think the Titleist driver was $450.
What was that, late 2000s?
It was kind of like early 2000 teens, right around there when I started paying attention to stuff.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
Yeah.
When I started seeing prices on golf clubs.
Yeah, right. And like I remember, this is very funny. I quite like Bettinardi putters. I used to collect. I don't think I ever said this on here. I kind of collect Bettinardi putters a little bit, right? I remember when Luke Donald was #1 in the world. At the time, I believe he was a Mizuno guy.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that he was an Odyssey putter guy. So me and my brother, we would look at Mizuno putters, and at the time, they were Bettinardi putters, right?
Oh,
so,
I remember that.
Yeah, when Mizuno Bettinardi, we would look at these putters, and they were $300. We were like, dude, that's got to be insane, right? To be able to play golf with a $300. My whole golf set at that point wasn't $300.
Yeah.
So we're sitting there, we're talking about these $300 putters like it's like crazy, right? Now, like if we've done our what's in the bags, obviously we don't play with the cheapest stuff out there.
No, my putter was $450. Yours was a lot.
We're not going to talk about mine.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about my golf bag. but again, not $300 anymore. So yeah, the price has gone up, but like when I think about it, like I openly and admittedly have hobbies that are far more expensive than golf clubs. Far more expensive than golf clubs, right? I think to a certain extent, you could probably almost say the same. Maybe yours became more of a career kind of thing and a job kind of thing.
Yeah.
But, at one point, you know what I'm talking about, right? That's far more expensive than golf as well.
Yes.
So it's interesting when you really think about it. Are golf clubs expensive? Yes. But is it pushing a point where it's getting silly?
No.
When I think about it in terms of where clubs probably should be from an inflation perspective,
probably about $700
$750, $850 on a driver, I bet. $2,200, $2,500 on a set of irons. That's kind of where I feel like inflation would be, considering, like I said, 18 to 20 years ago, there was almost $2,000 iron sets.
Yeah. Well, I get why putters have gone up in price. It's like you're not going to switch it out much.
Yeah.
So they got to It's like the whole demand thing.
Well,
But you do get those collectible Scotties.
Well, and this leads to a very interesting, almost second point, right? Which is this is going to kind of lead us, I think, into, let's say, part two
yeah.
of the video,
Which will be.
So, well, we'll get there. Stay tuned.
Oh, okay.
We're going to talk about maybe why the price of golf
has gone
clubs has gone up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because thinking about this, it's kind of clear cut, especially if you kind of understand things around materials and manufacturing processes.
Yes.
So thanks for tuning in. Keep watching. Part 2 coming soon.
Yeah.
In a couple of days, we'll see part 2, and we'll kind of attempt to understand why pricing is what it is.
Yeah.
If you got any questions, you guys kind of add in the comments, right? Let us know down there. And then please like and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time, guys.